What's up, listeners? Welcome to Predator vs. Movies. I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
Jesus Christ. Peter's back and fucking it up already.
I'm back.
And this is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest movie releases. We're going to start off with a non-spoiler review before diving into a deeper discussion of the film, and then we're going to ask the most important question: would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week, after many weeks of it being out, we are going to finally review David Fincher's The Killer. And Peter is back.
Peter's back. Peter.
I'm back.
Peter's back.
Do you have any comments? Any comments on that, Peter?
Nothing. It's just my absence has been greatly exaggerated. That's it.
I don't think that's
Thanks.
true. I think you haven't been here for like a month. Yeah.
Not that I have. But we have some other news for you. We got our Spotify Wrapped, as did the rest of the world, and we had some very interesting information, and we need to have a serious discussion with you guys. So I believe there are nine people for whom we are the number one podcast. Some of those 9 people might be in the room right now, which is kind of embarrassing. But all I want to say is, so if any of you 9 are listening, this doesn't apply to you. Everyone else who are not in that 9 of the top, we're the top podcast for you, smarten up.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
You gotta put in some more work. You gotta get in those reps.
Nose.
Yeah.
This is your nose. This is the grindstone. They're touching. This is an audio format, so you can't see. Imagine they're touching.
Yeah.
Nose, grindstone, making good contact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what
listen.
you need to do. Yeah. So
I need you to listen to me now, and keep listening to the podcast and all the podcasts, and make us your number one podcast for next year. I want those numbers better be up.
You have a year to do it.
Thank you, Peter. You heard him. He's the bad cop in this situation. You heard him.
What? Yo, you can't pin that on me.
If you don't smarten up, we'll unleash Peter. You don't. This is Peter at like 10% power. You don't want to see him.
Bro,
you don't want to see him even at 30.
Yeah.
30 is scary.
You will die.
30 is scary, Peter. Imagine
Peter
like
turns 30. When Peter turns
87
30 years old, holy fuck.
Yo, what?
He's gonna go crazy.
Is power supply is correlated directly to his age?
Exactly.
What happened?
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, you're not making it past 100. I don't think it can. I don't think it works like that. Anyways, we have some quick bites for you. Maybe if I get my phone open and ready. First quick bite. Thank you. This will be Peter's first quick bite as well. George Santos, the Republican
I know. I'm familiar.
person, senator,
Legend.
I don't know, politician, legend, who was recently kicked out of Congress for just embezzling substantial amounts of money and being a piece of work. Anyways, a movie about him is in the works at HBO from the Veep EP Frank Rich. That's from Deadline.
Awesome.
Cool.
See, quick bites it's really working. We're doing great. Next quick bite. I don't have anything to say about that. Kevin Feige says they will not resurrect Iron Man. He says we're gonna keep that moment and not touch that moment again. We all worked very hard for many years to get to that. We would never want to magically undo it in any way, and that's from Vanity Fair.
Liar.
Sure.
Pinocchio. Yeah. Some people were saying
a mile a minute. you don't know that's from
tell him. You tell him. Some people were saying that they offered to RDJ and he was just like no, and so this is the response. I'm just kidding. Okay, we'll never do it. This time I'm serious because he won't. He won't. New quick bite for you. Players for the Squid Game reality TV series needed chapstick in the dorm so badly that they ended up using lubricated condoms on their lips during filming. And that's from EW.
That's crazy.
EW, more like ew, which is my one word.
Yeah. It's like Saltburn, from what I understand. Kind of, not really.
Yum. All the things that happened in that movie.
Yeah, haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Neither have I, and I don't want to. Last quick bite I have for you guys. David Zaslav says, scrapping films for tax write-offs took courage. Here's some words from him. What content is going to help us win? The content that wasn't. We made a strategic decision on. It was difficult and painful, but it was necessary. And that's from TheVerge.com.
Cap. Cap.
Look, just like, stop being such a piece of work, you know?
Or end it.
Just stop.
I don't want to say the other thing, but like,
Yeah. Yeah, apparently, like, some government body in the U.S. is, like, looking into this tax write-off bullshit, because they're like, something smells fishy about this. I agree. It's very weird. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I think they should just, like, cut that program altogether. I think.
Sure.
I don't think you should be able to throw up other people's movies and get money for it. I think if you're throwing it out, that's your loss, not your gain. That's my one word on that. We're moving on into the trailer park.
Oh, 3 times today? That's crazy.
Well, because you're back, and so there's 3 motorcycles now.
Let's go.
It's 1 rev per person. It's
Yeah,
a rev per person kind of process.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a Comic-Con. Peter, what is XP? CCXP. I don't remember what the XP stands for.
I have no idea what it stands for. I think it's in Brazil, though.
I was gonna say maybe it's Sao Paulo then. Like I think that could be it.
Yeah.
So there turns out there's a Brazilian Comic-Con. This is news to me. That's my quick bite. I go, wow. So we've got some trailers from there. First up, we have Furiosa. This is the long-awaited. This has been in the works for a while. Prequel series to Mad Max Fury Road by
it's a
George
series?
Miller.
Oh,
What?
I thought it was a movie.
No. It's a movie. Did I see a series?
Oh,
I might
you
have
did
said
say series.
I meant movie. Sorry, it's a prequel movie. Peter's making a face at me.
Dude, no. I just okay. Sorry for interrupting. But I just Googled CCXP, and the first headline that popped up is someone threw something at Florence Pugh during her appearance with Doom Part 2 panel at CCXP. What the fuck?
Yeah, I saw that. I chose not to have that as a quick bite, but impromptu quick bite. Don't.
What the fuck?
Don't
do that.
throw things at Florence, Miss Pugh. Anyways, so Furiosa stars Anya Taylor-Joy as the Charlize Theron role, Furiosa, and Chris Hemsworth is in there.
Yes. And he's
Very
Australian.
interesting. He's finally Australian, like some of our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Like the third most listened country. Yeah.
Peter, give a shout out to our Australian listeners in their home accent.
Bro, I can't. Dude, I can barely tell an Aussie accent from a New Zealand accent.
That was actually really good. Did you see what he did there, Aidan?
Dude, I didn't do shit!
Yeah, that was a good
Oh,
accent.
wow. That's like the best
Whoa,
accent
you're-
I've ever heard.
Fuck out of here, you guys.
I didn't realize you had that in your
Whoa.
phone.
Guys, we're like less than 20 minutes in, and you guys are already trolling.
Where were you born? Like Brisbane? From
Yeah,
Brisbane,
Melbourne.
Queensland?
Yeah.
Shouldn't I? Yeah. Anyways, and you were gonna say something about the trailer. You were gonna say something real.
I was gonna say I have not seen any of the Mad Max movies, so this looks like it is like the other ones, specifically Fury Road. It looks like it's in the same thing. Good job on that. Looks consistent. Might watch it, might not. I have not seen any of the movies, but looks good. Looks pretty cool.
Interesting non-take. But I mean, what can you do?
Yeah.
Peter, what did you think about this trailer?
It's very sandy. Lots of sand.
Yeah,
Same.
I was thinking
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
It was,
I saw that.
Yeah, it was giving me Dune vibes.
Yeah.
Sand,
Lawrence
sand,
of Arabia.
sand,
not
maybe,
really.
sand
yeah.
Dune vibes. Yeah.
But not gonna lie, I couldn't tell it was Anya for a sec until
Yeah,
like,
actually, that's true. I agree.
until a little later in the trailer. But
grimy.
the visuals look cool, and I think George Miller's back, so he did
Yep.
Fury Road, so
He also
it's
did
probably gonna
3,000
be
years
pretty
of
in line.
Belonging.
He did do that. Yep.
Wait,
He-
seriously, that was him.
Yep.
The Idris Elba movie with
He also did.
Tilda Swinton.
Yep. He also did Babe. Pig in.
Pig in
Or-
the City? I didn't know that.
I don't know which one he did, because Pig in the City, isn't that the second one?
I don't know. I could not tell you.
Oh, maybe he did do Pig in the City, because
Wow.
he didn't do the first one. He did do.
Wow.
So he did the sequel to Babe, Babe and
That's
Pig in
awesome.
the City. He also did at least one of the Happy Feet. I think both.
I did know that.
He did the Happy Feet.
Yeah.
That's so fucking.
He did the
wild.
Happy Feet movies. Yep. What a career. But anyways, I've seen all of the Mad Max movies, so I suppose, the resident, what would you call that? Expert by default.
Sure.
Funny enough, I saw Fury Road was the first one I saw, and then, years later I watched all of
Right.
them in pretty quick succession. And Fury Road is not my least favorite, but also not one that I love. So I think the first two are my favorites. The second one is the best. But what I will say is, it's interesting to see a younger actor try to emulate an older actor in Anya Taylor-Joy doing Charlize Theron. It comes across quite differently, and I'll wait to see the movie, obviously, but I'm not sure if it'll have the same kind of feeling to it, if that makes sense. Charlize, I feel like not an actor who I know a lot of her work, but I feel like from what I recall of that movie is she has quite not maybe a gravitas, or she has a weight to the role, just in part due to the fact that she's an older actor. Not to say she's old, but she is not Anya Taylor-Joy's age,
Sure. Yeah, this is correct.
And I don't know. I feel like they're trying to make a kid act like an adult. This is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Well, Anya
And-
Taylor-Joy is 25 or something. She's not a kid.
I know, but comparatively, and trying to make a character, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. But I'm interested to see Chris Hemsworth do something different.
Yeah.
This
get
will
out of
be a post Marvel thing, so
He looks so goofy though. You know what I mean?
he's,
He
With
does
the-
have goofy.
he's a
His
beardo.
long
He's got
hair
a
and
beard.
the
His
beard.
beard is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second trailer that came out that we're gonna talk about is Godzilla X Kong,
Yeah.
the new Empire. Lots
Yeah.
of empires next year.
Yeah.
Frozen Empire, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah,
This
to be
one.
perfectly clear, don't give a fuck about whatever empire, what plot they're establishing. I don't care what they're doing. I just there's the one shot of them running together, and it's oh yeah, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a monkey and a lizard for sure. And I would be there for that. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know,
lizard.
man.
Big lizard.
I'm getting big Infinity War vibes. You have them running together, and one of them is has a yellow
No, but
metallic
this is-
gauntlet.
Yeah, but it's big monkey and big lizard. It's just not the same thing.
Aiden, you have no idea. That
It's
is
just
so
that-
funny.
The ethos of the movie is just different. I can already tell. I'll be there for it. Yeah.
You like Infinity War though? Weren't you
It's one
very
of the
vocal
better-
about?
Infinity
Yeah.
War is one of the better MCU movies, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like there's a shape-shifting monkey. Not sure what that's about. I got very confused.
But he's
There-
big.
this-
Wait, is that mini
big-
monkey supposed to be bad?
That was the vibe I was getting,
Huge
but I could not tell you.
Yo,
there's a
that's
lot
crazy.
there's a lot of monkeys in this one. Let
Yes.
me tell you.
And
This
I'm coming hot off the heels. As we'll talk about later, I watched Godzilla -1, so I'm seeing this trailer kind of lizarded up here, and so to see both lizard and monkey. It's a little like that's kind of a natural progression on what
It's like
I've been experiencing lately.
and
That's
it's like
crazy.
the predator meme where they're like they've grasped hands and they're like
Yeah.
clutching and biceps. It's like that, but like one is monkey and one is lizard.
Yeah.
You can
exactly.
like,
Although
imagine
if
that.
fans of the franchise will remember that they did do that by the end of the previous movie as well.
I think we're building.
Oh,
off
that's
of this.
crazy.
I didn't see
Yes,
that movie,
exactly,
so I could
yeah.
not tell you.
Okay, not gonna lie though, like when they first announced Godzilla versus Kong, like the first one,
Yeah.
I was just like, why are they fighting?
Dude,
Like,
'cause they have-
it seems
I
like
don't
such a
even remember-
commercial movie, you know? What
I
mean?
saw that
So it's
movie,
like,
and I don't know if I can even tell you why they were. I think there's something about, like, they're all the big animals, and one is the king, and one of them has to be the best. And, oh, no, I do remember. The movie
that's
opens
Godzilla
with...
that's Godzilla King of Monsters. Don't get it.
No,
twisted.
this, because that's in the same canon as this. This movie
Well,
opens...
I know that. Yeah.
Kong vs. Godzilla opens with like a bracket animation of all the different animals that Kong and Zilla have taken out individually, and it
Oh,
ends
that's
with them
really-
being, yeah, and it ends with them being like
so funny.
like the finalists, and so that's yeah, it's coming back to me. They have to be the biggest big guy.
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Because Kong has to take the title because he has to be the king. Because he was just Kong for a bit. He has to
Right.
be King Kong. I had something to say, but now I'm like totally thrown off.
Yo, I'm Team Lizard, by the way. I support
I'm
my
Team
lizard
Monkey
boy.
for sure. I'm definitely Team.
For real?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Even after -1?
-1 is. We'll get into it. That was
I think
good
that's-
lizard propaganda for sure, but I'm still Team Monkey here.
Bro, you are so monkey pilled, isn't it? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yo,
I am
man,
pretty
you're
monkey.
so fucking monkey filled. It has
am.
Dan Stevens in it. I'll also say.
Oh, that's
Legend
crazy.
himself, Beauty and the Beast, Mr. Beast himself.
Mr. Beast.
Trying to describe, I like Dan Stevens, and trying to describe the things he's been in is very hard. It's like, oh, did you ever see Legion? No. Okay, I mean, underneath all the CGI, he was Beast and Beauty and the Beast. I'm like, oh, I saw that. I like that. And I'm like, yeah. So imagine him, but not furry,
beast,
like
right.
not a beast.
Yeah.
And then the other, it's hard. Anyways, I think we should get to our movie that we did watch.
Let's do it.
Tell us about it, Aidan.
We watched the Pew Pew Killer. It was directed by David Fincher, screenplay by Andrew Kevin Walker, based on a graphic novel by the same name by Alexis Matz Noland and Luke Giacomo. Starring it has the quotations. I had to, but anyway, it's starring Michael Fassbender, Arliss Howard, Tilda Swinton, and more. Cinematography by Eric Messerschmidt. I will just shout out his music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, as has been the case with Fincher movies for a little while now. Release date September 3rd. That was in Venice, and then the United States release brought in theaters was October 27th. And then November 10th was the Netflix release. So it's been out and about for a while. Runtime's 118 minutes. Box office is I have $425,000, and there's just I question that, and I also
Yeah.
don't have the budget here. So
It's a limited release, anyways.
it was a limited
Yeah,
release,
man.
but like I don't know. It's also a streaming movie mostly, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the information. With that, we will go into our next segment, our classic game, the Predacritic Game. And in this game, we are going to guess. Is that the soundbite? Is that the soundbite for that?
Just
Or you just say it in French?
I just say it. I don't worry
You just
about
say it
me.
most times?
Just
Okay.
keep going.
We're gonna guess where the killer scores on Metacritic's score.
I actually
So
don't
I've
mind going
spun-
first for this one because I feel like I have a good idea of where this.
That's
is.
okay. It's not
Well,
your turn though.
volunteering to go
So no, I've
It
spun
wasn't
the
a
wheel.
volunteer.
I've spun the wheel as I'm supposed to, and Peter is actually going first.
Oh, oh
Aidan, you wanna go before me?
no,
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 it's
I
not.
don't.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna take a wild punt on this one. 78.
A wild punt.
Yes.
That is a wild punt. Yeah.
Okay, I'm spinning the wheel again, and it looks like it's my turn, unfortunately.
Let's go.
So
That's so awesome. The
despite
wheel
Aiden
loves
being
me.
okay,
The
I
wheel
know the
straight up
random
loves
wheel
me.
loves. I'm gonna clear my cookies or
Yeah,
something. This is
yeah.
bullshit. 78. I
See, I know 78 is a good score.
it's not a wild punt. I don't know why.
It
you
is
call
not a
it
wild
that.
punt.
It's almost probably a bullseye, but we'll see. I'll play it safe, and I feel like maybe there's a chance people will like it more than that, so I'll go with 79.
See, I was thinking a little bit lower than that, so I was always going to go 77.
No,
Always gonna go 77.
We're saving Peter. No, this
We
is
did
not
say
how it's
Peter,
supposed
but
to
I just
go.
don't think it's 80. I just don't think it's there.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Shoust.
And
I'm so
fuck
nervous.
me. So it's actually lower than all of us guessed. So
Yeah, I was going to guess like
73.
72.
73, yeah.
I was going to be right on the money, even if I had shot off rip. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So with that, as the winner,
Woo,
Aidan does get to tell us what the
Yo, you're so monkey punch today. What is going on, bro?
So with that, if we
Non-spoiler
can contain
reaction.
ourselves,
Let's
we're
get
gonna give
into
our
it.
non-spoiler
Alright, so
reactions.
I watched a movie called The Killer. Full disclosure, as I've said this to my co-host before we started, I saw this movie in theaters in October, I believe, or earlier November. Haven't seen it since. So I'm going off of memory for the most part here. This is a movie that I honestly don't have that many criticisms for, but I just didn't love. Like, I think that it's very precisely crafted. I think that there are some interesting ideas in it. I think that and it's kind of hard to criticize for me because it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, well, it felt a little underwhelming. But then on the other hand, like, movies don't need to be some grand thing, and this movie was what it was, and it was at the scale that it was, and that's fine. I think that, like, maybe some of the internal monologue was a little cringy, but at the same time, I think that's the tone of the movie. I think it's supposed to be this kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of monologue going on here. I think that, like, maybe it felt like we were nearing an ending a little bit sooner than we did. Like, I think during the last chapter or so, I was like, what's happening? Because it kind of felt like the main thing had ended. But I still thought it worked fine. Like, I wouldn't even necessarily criticize that because I was kind of right back in it as soon as I realized what was happening. I think it's shot well. I think it's directed well. But I just don't, like... There isn't much about this movie that, like, really grabbed me. I think it was just kind of something that went past me. This is like a 4-star movie to me, like 3.5, and just kind of like based on just kind of like respect for it. Like, I just think it's well made. But not going to be high on my favorites of the year. So I would recommend it. I think most people are going to have fun watching this. I think it's a well made, enjoyable movie.
Cool. Did you give yours score ranking?
Yeah, he said 3.5.
I said 4.
Oh,
I said
3.5.
4. Land on 4.
Okay. Peter,
4 is what I
did
gave
you
on
think?
Letterboxd. So.
Peter, what do you think about this movie?
Okay, so there are parts of this movie that I really love, and there are just parts that I just don't vibe with at all. Like, a little bit of tangent. So, John Wick 2's always been my favorite John Wick.
Sure.
So many reasons, but one of them
Yeah.
being, like, I actually saw, like, John executing like a hitman job, which I thought was very cool. So, like, basically this entire movie was Michael Fassbender, like, doing his job, like, not for money this time, for personal reasons. Like, that part is always really cool, like, really seeing the stone cold killer aspect of a hitman coming out, and actually, like, legit, there are so many moments I was like, okay, like, that guy's gonna walk away, but then, you know, Michael Fassbender just shoots him. And I think, like, that aspect is what like elevates the movie for me. Like, it's very rare, I think, these days we see, like, someone who's, like, doing a job such as hitman, but, like, truly, like, dead inside, you know, cold, like having, like, being very, very professional throughout the actual process, even though, like, technically he's not being professional. We'll get to that. But like the parts I don't like is I find it very hard to like emotionally empathize with any of the characters, even though there's like, uh, as you guys may know, there's like a rich internal monologue situation going on between Michael Fassbender and himself. Like I find it very difficult to empathize with him, his motive, and like eventually at the end, like I just thought the ending was funny. There's like no catharsis there whatsoever. It's just like I chuckled when the movie ended. So like to me, I think there are parts I really like. There are parts I really don't like. But I end up giving it a 3 out of 5, which I think is a little harsh upon first viewing.
Very
Probably
harsh.
like a 3.5, honestly.
Sure.
But I still recommend people to go see it. I think it's a very unique movie, unique take on the hitman genre, with like so many of them focus more on the action or like the spy thriller aspect. Like this one really keeps it grounded and really tried to like make it as faithful as possible. And I think that's just like really cool to see. So I still recommend everyone to go see it. I think it's a good movie. It's just not for me.
Okay, I'm gonna swoop in with the hot take.
Mm.
This is one of my favorite movies this year. So I've seen this movie twice. Not recently, but I have seen it more than once. Once in theaters and once on Netflix. And I think that second watch is really instrumental in kind of fully enjoying it, because I did find after first viewing a lot of like similar feelings. Being underwhelmed, I think was something I felt after the first one. I was just kind of surprised. I don't know that the movie that was marketed, I feel like, was maybe purposefully like a little bit different than what we actually got. It is not. I don't think it's not ever trying to be John Wick. Just
No.
Bouncing off what Peter had mentioned, but it's going for a very different thing. It's not about the crazy, like it's not a popcorn like entertainment movie so much as it is a look, like it's a character study of this like detached, hollow person who is like so living such like a repressive and minimalist life, and then just kind of watching them like almost fall from grace, even though it wasn't really grace to begin with. But as they slowly, it's so interesting to me the more I think about this movie, how it's a character like discovering his own humanity, but that's a bad thing. Like we're portraying this fall from like detachment as a bad thing instead of a good thing, and so yeah, I really found this character to be quite interesting. I don't know if empathy is the right word. I don't know if I empathized with the character, but I found them very, very interesting, and there were a few moments where I was maybe empathizing with kind of like the fear they felt per se. What else can I say? I think it's directed very well, like Aidan said. I really like the narration. I think it's actually very funny. I think it's a very funny movie. You guys kind of alluded to that, but I think a rewatch makes it very, very clear just how funny this movie is. I think again the first watch kind of like it's hard to understand like what it is Fincher's going for in this. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's quite entertaining. I think it subverts the genre as much as it is like a piece of it. But yeah, like I can also see why some people, and lots of people actually, are kind of like not sure what to make of this, and a feeling of like it not being quite iconic or part of like the Fincher canon, perhaps. But I'm excited to discuss it. So I think I give it 4 maybe the first time, and I give it 4.5 the second time. So somewhere between there is what I'd rank it. Like I said, maybe I think I might have put it at my 4th favorite film of the year. I just love it. I love the vibes, and I would definitely tell people to go check it out. So with that, I do actually have to synopsize this movie.
Yep.
And Aidan's going to tell us something really important.
I'm not. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. So spoiler.
Got you
Spoiler
again.
review. Spoiler. Well, I thought because you saw me looking at something else because I was pulling up my ranked list because I was curious about that. I thought you noticed that and thought I was gonna say something, but no. So spoiler time. Pew 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 wee woo wee woo. If you don't want the spoilers, get the fuck out of here, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I have 2 minutes to summarize this movie, and I'll do so in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Michael Fassbender is a killer, and he's waiting out in Paris. He's trying to do a hit on the people across the street. Takes a little while for them to show up, but he eventually does, and he's ready to do it. And he's narrating the whole time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm such a badass. This is why I'm so good at my job, because I'm methodical." And then he fucking misses, and he kills the woman in leather, and then he has to run away. And so he's running away because he fucked up the job, and he ends up in the Dominican Republic, which is where his home and his girlfriend is. He discovers, but his girlfriend has been attacked, and it's very upsetting. And she's not gonna die; she's okay. But he's quite mad now, and he's gonna figure out who did this. So he finds out there was a taxi, so he discovers the taxi, and he finds the taxi driver. He finds out information from the taxi driver. He kills the taxi driver. He goes to his employers in New Orleans, and he kills him and finds his receptionist, and she tells him the contacts of the people who who attacked his wife, girlfriend, or whatever, and the person, the client who ordered that to happen. So he goes to Florida to fight this massive guy, and there's a big fight, and it's really hard, and he kills the guy. He was the guy who like really brutalized his girlfriend, and then he finds Tilda Swinton in New York. She's living quite a lavish life as a hitman, and he kills her. She's about to stab him, and he kills her. After they talk about a hunter, and it's a pretty funny story. And then he goes to Chicago, where the client is, Artless Howard, and he breaks in after like buying a fob copier on Amazon, and he's gonna kill Artless Howard, and then the Artless Howard doesn't even know who he is, and he's like, fine, but if you retaliate, I'll kill you. Oh, and Artless Howard didn't even care. He's not mad or anything. So then he goes back to the Dominican Republic, and he tries to relax, and he twitches his eye.
Yep.
Did you forget to talk about the lawyer?
Nope. I didn't call him the lawyer, but I said he goes to employers in New Orleans,
okay.
and he kills them.
The lawyer.
Oh, good.
And he is
Yep.
a lawyer.
lawyer.
So why don't we kick it off with our classic question that we sometimes forget? What is your favorite part?
You guys go first.
Yeah.
Then
I can go. I have multiple actually.
Sure.
Great.
So I think, honestly, this movie I felt like genuinely is like the sum of its parts is lesser than the individual parts themselves. That's my opinion.
Sure.
There are some really cool bits. And Alex, I think you probably want to talk about the motorcycle editing stuff because I saw you posting about it. But I was the beginning in Paris.
Didn't I just send it in the group chat?
Yeah. So
Okay, I wouldn't call it posting about it, but sure. I was
Okay.
like, did I post
But anyways,
something?
I'm gonna leave that to you. I thought that was super cool as well.
I'm not gonna talk about it.
Really love the tone shift in when he was tracking down the taxi driver, when he was in the Dominican Republic, he's begging for his life, it's like, please, I'll do anything, just let me live. And then there's you can see a millisecond regret within his eyes, but then he shot him anyways. That frame is so sick. In my opinion, that entire sequence just tells you what kind of movie this is gonna be. At the beginning, you're like, okay, it's a hitman, he's very mysterious, a little dead inside, very typical hitman origin story or beginning, the initial sequence. But then that sequence really tells you this movie means business. Innocents, bystanders, they are not safe. They will die because they've seen him and they know who he is. So I thought that sequence was just really well directed, and it really amplifies the fear of the taxi driver, and the contrast. Michael Fassbender just being so cool, so calm the whole time, and just point, aim, and shoot. It just feels like reflex at that point for him shooting a gun. So really love that part. And then another part I really liked was the part at the very end where he went through all this effort, going to the gym, getting a membership in the gym, copy this guy's fob, do all these things just to get like unseen and manage to snuck in this like multi-million billion dollar apartment, and then he showed up like a random guy, and then the guy just taking a phone call. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta go now. And then it's gotta be the biggest blue ball in history. Where like he expects like this guy to like, oh yeah, you're him, right? Okay, like have a whole confrontation about it. But the guy's like, I don't even know who you are. I thought that was really, really funny. But and like honestly a brilliant way to wrap up the movie. So 2 of my favorite parts.
Yeah. Dominican Republic, I think the taxi scene was cool about that one is, if I recall correctly, most of it is from one angle. I mean, it does cut to perspective behind the backseat, but a lot of it is from like a dash cam almost, kind of like dashboard type space. And so like the simplicity of that I think is really awesome. And I will definitely talk about the anti-climax maybe a little bit later that you've pointed out there when he goes to the penthouse, but I think that scene is very, very interesting on like a textual kind of analytical way, but maybe I'll hold off on that for now.
Cool. Okay, I thought of a favorite part, because I think my favorite thing about this movie is just I'm always a big fan of simple intentional shot choice and not doing anything too. I don't like when movies are over directed, and I think this movie is not, and that's nice. There are a few standout moments or standout sequences that relate to that, but I will specifically point out this is in the first chapter. It's when he takes his shot and it goes wrong, and just the use of freehand camera, shaky cam, which I've since learned I think was done in post, which I think it's executed well though, because it doesn't look too bad, or it looks good. I didn't catch that in the theater. But yeah, like what shots are stable, what shots are freehand, how that correlates to his heart rate, like and just like the situation that's going on. It's like his world is shocked. I think this is a very subjectively filmed movie, and so as soon as things have gone wrong, and as soon as his whole understanding of the world is kind of shattered by this, because his entire like mantra has crumbled a little bit. And so it's like his entire world is shaking, and so he has to and then like specifically within those sequences, like when does he feel more confident, like when is like, okay, I'm getting back into it, when are we fixed, when are we not, like I just think it's really just well done. And I just remember seeing every single shot and being like, good, that's the right shot, yes. And every single cut I was like, yes, good. Yeah.
I also noticed the camera is taken off the tripod as soon as he makes that mistake, and I think that's a very clearly like, the choice has a lot of meaning imbued in it. I also was gonna say the first chapter is my favorite part. I just love how like patient it is, and it's very slow, and he's giving out his narration. He's like philosophizing and moralizing about what he does, and I just found everything he was saying was so captivating. Not to say that I obviously do not agree with most of what he's saying, but it's so interesting. Like it's such a well-rounded like character. All the things he's saying are very interesting. Very methodical shot choices. Like there's the bit where he's like doing yoga is so cool. Like there's that lovely shot from above where only the tips of his gloved fingers are in focus. That's super cool. And yeah, I mean, very cool that it takes 15 minutes for the thing to happen. I think is an awesome choice. It lines up nicely with the classic screenwriting structure of what's the term for it? The 15-minute one?
Inciting incident.
The inciting incident. Thank you. So it lines up nicely, but just the patience of like, we don't even see the guy until maybe like 10 minutes or 13 minutes,
right.
And I feel like it's a good pace setter for the rest of the movie. It's telling you, this is not going to be your John Wick. It's not going to be wall-to-wall action. It's going to be boredom. I mean, that's part of the monologue he says, is if you're not used to boredom, this job isn't for you. Um, yeah, so that was probably my favorite, just because it is so quiet and still and thinky. So, uh, any comments on that, or should we get into some other stuff?
Yeah, like I absolutely agree with you, and I think like lot of movies, especially like today, the entire movie is really like kick started by an accident, but like this movie, like he's actually in fact actively trying to avoid conflict. Like he keeps telling himself it's like do not improvise, reject feelings or something like that, which I like. Even though like that makes it for a less exciting movie, not really, because I think the movie is still quite exciting. It's like it's very real in a sense that like for someone in his profession, like these are indeed bad things, and you always want things to go to plan, and you can see that like throughout the movie, whether it's like his daily routine going up and down like the building construction in Paris, or how he just so efficiently like grabs what he needs from a garage, or like switch out the license plates, whatever, like getting geared up for his next hit. Like I think like these like the how professional he is like throughout the movie, even though like he's technically not being professional because he's totally off the rails when it comes to what he's supposed to do, is really like to me like the coolest part of the movie. Like seeing how dexterous he is at like managing situations that is just like unimaginable for like normal people, and like just cruising through them, and the constant contrast of himself and the people surrounding him, like how like the one scene that pops out to me was when the secretary was locked in the car when he went into the garage to grab something. Like the secretary was desperately trying to get out, and then she's like panicking while he just slowly walks back to the car knowing the door's locked. So like these are just sequences that really pop in the movie for me, and that's why I say like the movie, the sum of its parts is lesser than the individual parts themselves. So
Yeah, the scene that you just mentioned where she's locked in a car, she's got her like hands probably zip tied together. That's maybe one of my favorite shots from this movie. Is her hands? It's an insert of her hands like trying to break free, and it's like genuinely like scared me. Like, and it's like a really like disturbing image because it's not quite abstract, but it's like dark, and it's a weird angle of something you've never seen before, that it's almost like inhuman, like unnatural, and it reminded me of like the Rorschach like blobs. I love that shot so much. I agree though, like the professionalism I think is what just makes this movie so distinct. It's so interesting, like the killer has so much in common with John Wick, and I feel like we're just gonna keep bringing this up. But what I like about this movie more than like that John Wick doesn't do, is that like there's the similarities. They've had these personal attacks. The professional has become personal, and so now they're out to get their revenge. But where John Wick is like, he's already lost it, and like no holds barred is kind of already what's happening from the beginning. It's a slow like unraveling for our main character here, the killer, who doesn't have a name. So the killer is still, like you said, very professional, still doing his job, and doesn't have like a lot of problems while he's doing the jobs. Like he's makes a lot of mistakes, which I want to talk about later. But it's fascinating like how much goes right, I guess, in this movie, and I like how it doesn't. It actively like resisting. I think resisting against the typical like the I had the right word for it, like the things that like are common to the genre. They're like defying it. And so yeah, I found it very interesting that he never fully slips, and he's professional throughout.
Yeah, I will say about the John Wick comparisons. While I think like it makes sense just because like on a very literal level of what the plot is, like they're similar. But I think these are very, very different movies with very different goals right from the beginning. I think like I would almost argue that they're not the same genre because I don't feel as much that I mean like they're kind of like broadly related. But I would say like John Wick, the goal of John Wick is cool, well motivated action sequences, and that's the point of those movies. And that is very much not the point of these. I don't know if I would even call this a straight up action movie, even though like right, exactly. And so like I think they're actually quite separate movies.
No, I agree with you, Aidan. I think like this movie is much more like it's slower, obviously, and more methodical in the sense that it's more like a John Wick is very much like a retired hitman, got nothing to lose, like you said, Alex, and then going about like he just wants peace and then he wants out. Now he's dragged back in again, so he's reluctant to do what he does, but like he still makes it very exciting because the world setting and everything. But this movie is like purposely make you realize that it's literally this guy's job, you know, to do this. So like even though like and like to him like it's very much like against what the job is supposed to be exciting, you know, like Alex, like you mentioned, like, you know, boredom is good to him, so it is very different from John Wick. It's like to me it's like a more mellow and like like an indie take on John Wick, you know, like it's the same motivation, but like the movie itself is executed very differently.
Sure.
I understand what you mean by indie. I think you mean auteur, perhaps. It just means like you feel the director's style.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say that
I think
John Wick movies are very stylish too, though, in their own right. But I just think that it's a movie with different goals.
Yeah. And the other thing about John Wick, also John Wick is, I would say John Wick 1 is more of an indie film than
That's true.
This movie.
Than The Killer.
No,
yeah.
absolutely.
That's true.
But anyways, to respond to the genre thing, I would say that it's the difference I think here is John Wick is like action and this is thriller, and so you know they both have elements of the other one, but I think this one falls more firmly into thriller. I can't think of like a really good comparison for this movie, but one that is sort of popping into my mind is a spy thriller. I feel like there's a lot of similarities there, and so the one that I'm trying to remember the name of is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is kind of coming to mind. That one's quite a slow movie, although that one the focus is more on the mystery element of it. But yeah, I think I'm in total agreement that they have different aims. So this is not so much the action flick, entertainment. This is not the roller coaster type movie as John Wick is. This is what is up with this character. And also I'll say in terms of just tone and genre, I think also what this movie really excels at is comedy. I think, like Aidan pointed out, some of the dialogue is very cringy, and some of them the first time I was like, oh, that's really weird. Why is he saying that? So like when he says really slowly taking big pauses between each words, he's like, yeah, I'm why I'm good at my job, because I don't give a fuck. And then he fires the gun. Like I was like, oh, that's so weird of you to say. And later he's like, oh, like why does she live so close to the normies? And I was like, this guy talks so weird, but it's funny. And then I kind of like occurred to me like that is part of it, is like it's this guy who talks such a big game in his head, and he's building up this persona of himself, of like this guy who's so professional, so good at his job, and he's so above other people, and then consistently the movie is proving him totally wrong. So I think not only is like his dialogue is so funny, I had some other ones like when he says WWJ WBD, what would John Wilkes Booth do?
What? Yeah,
such a goofy ass thing to say. When he looks in the mirror and he like nods at himself, he's like, hey, like he's like he's just feeling himself. I hope they're not planning a sleepover. Like just from the dialogue sense, a very funny movie.
I will say, I don't find it that funny, but I do think it's like well character motivated, and what I like about it as well is that it's childish. Like the things that he's saying are pretty childish, and I think that that's very intentional. That he has these illusions of grandeur that come from a very just fundamentally immature view of life that masquerades itself as being something that's very like I know the secret. I've unlocked the truths that dwell beneath the surface or whatever. And I think and I think we'll get to the Chicago scene, but that's why the Chicago scene works well, is because that's who the character is set up to be. And so that scene, and then also when he meets Tilda Swinton, I think are, so I don't know, it's the funny thing, like, this is, I guess, one of my criticisms of the movie, where it's like, I saw that and I understood, like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, that is, I register it as a joke, and I understand the motivation behind it. It's not, like, meaningless comedy. Not, I mean, meaningless comedy can be good, but, like, this is, like, very focused, but it's just, like, yeah, I don't know. like, it's the kind of thing where it's, like, I don't find that funny, and it just kind of washes over me a little bit, and while I think, like, the idea behind it is interesting, I also feel like, yeah, I get it. And, like, I don't know. There's just... Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. I definitely feel like, again, like, first viewing, I didn't find it quite as funny as I did the second time. I do... it's not to say, like, it's a laugh out loud funny. I think it is kind of like it's an interior, like, a knowing, like you said, like, acknowledging, like, oh, isn't that ironic? Or isn't that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, as well as the dialogue being funny, I think what is maybe even more funny is the fact that, like, again, it's that difference between the incongruity between him thinking he's such a great hitman and telling us how good of a hitman he is, and then how many times throughout the movie he fucks up, and, like, in pretty hilarious ways. So there's the one where he, like, the whole movie starts because he can't stop, like, ogling a woman in leather. Like, that is why he fucks up the first time. I think when he kills Hodges, the lawyer, he's like, yeah, he should last 6, maybe 7 minutes, and then he dies instantly, and he's like, I don't remember if he says anything.
He says shit, like, or something.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he's like, fuck, like, shit, I can't believe I did that.
That was so funny.
I can't remember the one that, like, the one that actually made me, like, laugh out loud when I saw it the first time in theaters was, like, during the Brood fight, and he's in the kitchen, and he's, like, hiding, and he's being, like, brutalized. This guy's, like, destroying him, and he's like I need a weapon to, like, level up my game. And he opens a drawer super quietly, and he reaches in and he pulls something out, and he doesn't see what it is, and then we both see it at the same time, the audience and him, and it's a cheese grater. He thought he was getting a knife, and the face he makes is so funny. He's like, oh fuck, like he knows he's fucked, and then yet, like, he still, like, completely uses it to his advantage. He throws it, distracts the guy, and the guy fires in that direction, and then he runs somewhere else. I think, very funny.
Because I think another interesting wrinkle is that, like, as kind of his whole mentality, because I know what you're saying, that the movie does, while it's not an action movie, it does feel like a subversion of an action movie in some ways, because it's like, that is a beat where you would expect in an action movie, character reaches in a drawer, they pull out a knife, and now it's a knife fight, and now we're on to the next thing. And I think this movie is very concerned with, like, how you build up a narrative of what life is in your head, and how that comes from a variety of things, and, like, you can convince yourself of it very well, but that doesn't mean that it's not an impermeable thing, and it's not static either. And if your understanding of the world isn't shifting, then it's, you know what I mean? Like, and so I do agree that, like, there are a lot of those beats like that where it's supposed to be, it's like, I've seen this before and I know how it's supposed to go, but this is not how it goes. But what I was going to say, what I think is interesting as well, I don't think it would be as interesting if he was just straight up bad at his job. It is interesting that he's still pretty good at it, like, and he still can adapt and everything, like, because, like you said, like, he makes the cheese grater work for him a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, so I think that's something I like about this movie as well, that it's not just straight up, like, it doesn't fall into, like, a completely, like, slapstick kind of, just like, oh, this guy's a dumbass, like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, it's very subtle, I found.
Yeah.
That's something I liked about this movie, is I think it does a lot visually. I think that maybe more so than other Fincher movies, it is requiring less of Yeah, like there's a lot less dialogue. There's a lot of maybe monologue dialogue, but I do think there's a lot of like looking and silence. Um, yeah, I don't know. And again, I think it's a subtle movie. Maybe not like super subtle. There's obviously
Right.
more subtle movies, but as subtle as Fincher might get, perhaps. Um, where should we take this? Do you maybe want to tackle one of like the chapters?
Sure.
I feel like we talked to the first one a lot. I feel like maybe we've covered chapter one, the target, Paris.
Sure.
Any other things from that? If I'm missing something? Nope. Okay. Second chapter is Dominican Republic. One thing that I didn't write down, but I thought was really funny is when he's trying to get into the taxi place at night, and like he's gonna break in. He does this really hilarious like prayer action, but he almost does it in like, you know, the anime human, like the way you move your hands.
Like
you know,
the
what would you call
cosplayer,
that?
the cosplayer
Yeah.
TikTok thing. Yeah.
The cosplayer TikTok
the
movement.
thing
like
that
how
I always
they-
do. Yeah. Okay.
You're not the only one. There's a lot of people who do that. But basically, like a very like emphasized like weird moment. Anyways, so he does like a little prayer action that I think is I find so funny. There was something else about the Dominican Republic. I don't recall. Man, I wish I remember what that was. Anyways, anything else for this segment?
I don't have that much
chapter-
to say about this.
I know
chapter.
you guys
This
are
this is-
bouncers
this is-
today, and I'm.
This is
floundering.
another chapter. This is another chapter where I was just like, yeah, I think just like checking into my enjoyment of the movie. This is one where, for the first one, I was like, this is really cool. The second one, I was just like, okay, I don't know. Like, as soon as like, I mean, like my guard was a little up as soon as I saw like they came into his house and beat the shit out of his girlfriend, because that's not what I thought the movie. Like, that's an example of like I didn't think the movie was gonna be about that, and I remember I remember distinctly feeling like, oh, so this is gonna be like a revenge thing, and I'm thankful it didn't really turn into that. But I remember thinking that it was just, oh, this is what I wanted it to be. Okay, now I'm remembering. I wanted the movie to just at that point be him constantly trying to do things to get out of the specific scenario of he missed the shot in Paris, and every action he takes he makes a mistake and it snowballs, and that's what the plot is. And so when he can't, like, I think it still winds up being pretty much that, but as soon as like there was the girlfriend in the hospital, I was like, I was a little let down, because I was like, I think it's more interesting if it's just like this one mistake is just everything, instead of it being like this one mistake happened and then also this happened, and even though it happened because of this, like, to me, like, I don't know, I just I thought it would have been more interesting if it was just like kind of a like staying with him as he tries to get out of this, and it just keeps growing.
No, I can definitely see that movie play out, and I feel like also that's almost like that is what you would expect, I think, also. And I guess maybe trying to take the side of the movie, I think what's interesting is that the thing is like it is just a job, and for a while it is just a job, and he fucked up the job and he never fucks up the job, and just the next thing he has to do is go home. Like you screw up
Sure.
at work, what do you do next? You go home. And in just this particular scenario, work has followed him there. And so while I can understand how like that does like just sound maybe perhaps more interesting in some ways, I also like that the killer's doing something I've never seen before, in that like, and also like playing off of things I have seen before as well. And so it is this revenge thriller, but also the revenge, like, the girlfriend is not a big part of the movie. It's not really about her. She's like the reason he feels he has to go out, but she is left behind, and we meet her again at the end. And I'm glad she didn't die, because then I feel like that kind of gets into like melodrama almost. Like I feel like John Wick can get quite melodramatic sometimes.
But that's John Wick's supposed to be that, to be fair. Like, that is what John Wick
True.
is. And so like if this movie did that, it would be a different thing. But sure,
would be
I can see
bad.
where you're coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next sequence, I don't know. The next sequence is the New Orleans sequence where we meet Hodges, and we see his like, his what do you call it? Like his storage unit thing is really fun, and now he's like kind of see. Oh, this was something I was gonna mention. Like, we kind of talked about this, but like, how professional he is, I think is just so interesting. And there's this kind of thing that I've heard people talk about, and so I've kind of looked into what this is. Like, he is a part of the gig economy, which is kind of like this shift we've been making.
Well, there's like he's in like a WeWork, like an abandoned WeWork center in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, so WeWork, I've learned is like they give out office spaces that are I think
they're
for
bankrupt
like
now. I don't know if it exists anymore.
They're falling apart. It's not quite gone, but it's like even in August they were gonna file for. They said they might have to file for bankruptcy. So like they've been failing, but the whole thing of WeWork was supplying office spaces for various businesses, and I think for kind of like contract sort of stuff is the implication. And the killer himself is like a contract worker, and so I like that it's kind of like there's a bit of commentary about the world as it is now, and there's other kind of like subtle things about this. So like they mentioned Postmates at one point. There's a lot of like just kind of like generic brands. Like, I'm not sure if I can remember any other gig specific ones, but
there's a lot of. I do have a point to this. I think I maybe want to touch on this later, but I have a point about the amount of clear attention to putting real life things into this movie.
Yeah.
I've kind of a different point about it a little bit, so I think I'll save that for the Chicago part. But that was also something I'd picked up on.
Sure, but yeah, just to round this point up, I do think it's cool that like he's trying to, like, at the beginning at least, he's trying to make it like it's just like it's not personal. It is just a job, and it's entirely impersonal. I'm just doing the job. You screw up, you go home, and there's nothing to it. And you see how professional it is. He was at one point, and then slowly it's falling apart. I'm kind of repeating myself, but New Orleans. What have we not done yet? I might just reveal this now, but there's this thing that he says throughout the movie is like he's got this list of like rules he has, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but every time it gets shorter, he starts losing.
Does.
Yeah, and so I thought there might be a pattern to this. This is the kind of like movie that I feel like has very easy kind of analytical things. So this is one of them that I is kind of like if you notice it, it's quite easy to track. So it starts off quite long the first time he says it in Paris, and then every time he kills someone or like has like an interaction, it gets shorter for the next one because he has broken that rule in that interaction, and it won't come back again. So I've kind of tracked what they were. Some of them are harder to figure out than others, but first off is never yield an advantage. That's the first one to go. I think that's for the cab driver. I think that's him not being incognito anymore. So the cab driver gets a very clear look at his face in the rear view mirror, and so I feel like that is probably what, like, him yielding an advantage. It's personal now, and it's so personal that he's not hiding his identity anymore. It's him. And the cab driver tries to, oh my god, not this again. The cab driver tries to, Peter, do you know what that is? It's the speech bubble thumb. Only me, I think. I don't think anyone else that is.
Wait, is this Discord or is this Apple though?
It's Discord because I mean, well, actually, I guess it might be Apple, but I see it every time. Yeah.
Anyways,
we're still being for listeners who have been following along. We're still being haunted by the thumbs up emoji. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Peter's gonna do some. That's not the same.
Not the same.
No, okay, so it must be an Apple thing then.
I don't know. I'm scared. So the cab driver tries to get away for a smoke, and knowing his identity could easily like point him out, and so he has to kill him, and that starts the whole revenge kill saga. Next one that he gives up is what's in it for me. I think that's when he kills Hodges, because Hodges literally says something like, you won't do it, like there's no upside for you in killing him and killing the lawyer. There's no upside, and he does it anyways because while there isn't like an upside, it satisfies that emotional reaction, that emotional urge. Next one is forbid empathy. That one's quite easy. He kills Dolores in such a way that it might look like an accident so that her kids can claim her life insurance. Fight only the fight you're paid to fight. Also very easy. The brute, he fights a fight he definitely did not have to fight, and that costs quite a bit. Trust no one, also quite easy. The expert. The last two are a little bit tricky. It's stick to the plan and anticipate, don't improvise. Kind of seems like it's one idea. It's the one that he always starts with, and I feel like that one is when he's with Claiborne, the client. And I think what's going on there is that the plan was to kill him, and because of like just the interaction and how it goes, he ends up not sticking to that plan. He ends up abandoning the plan, and he improvises by like letting him live. So that's my essay on how the killer fucks up or whatever.
Cool. Yeah, I hadn't picked up on specifically why everything was dropping, but I did notice that it was getting shorter every single time. And yeah, I had just taken it as like a general of throughout the movie, these experiences are causing him to shed these a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's like a very easy like purely dialogue way of looking at it, but I do think like in a grander scheme it can be a little more eloquent in like summarizing the journey, but maybe I'll save that a little bit longer. So he leaves New Orleans and he goes to the Brute. Let's talk about the Brute fight. This is mostly the reason why I wanted to talk about chapters. This fight scene's awesome. I feel like it's like the way I was telling it to myself is like every hit feels like a ton of bricks. Like every punch has so much weight behind it. I feel like the sound effects are a big part of that, as well as just like really camera movement. The score is really good at this point too. Before he enters the house, I described it as like squelching electronic music that was really neat. And yeah, like even though it's so dark in there, it's super easy to follow, very well filmed, and in like very distinct sequences or beats. I think it's a really, really great fight scene.
I really love how how destructive the environment is as well. You know, they literally rampage through the entire house, and the fact that the door, like the bathroom door, got used so many times, and like honestly, like the highlight for me though, the fight scene itself was fantastic. The highlight for me was how he handled the dog. He dealt with it like a true professional. You know, you know, it's like. Is he gonna kill the dog? Like, how's he gonna like, you know, what's he gonna do? The fact that he went to the supermarket and just bought a shit ton of sleeping pill and then just like drugged the dog, that was crazy.
But two things on that though. One, I think you could make this argument because he already broke the forbid empathy rule. He's still forbidding empathy, and he doesn't kill the dog.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then also he fucks that up too. He doesn't get enough.
Woke up, yeah.
He doesn't give enough sleeping. Like it's like literally like NyQuil and stuff, and he doesn't give enough, and so he fucks up again. And he's like hustling. He's like, and he barely makes it out of the gate before the dog reaches. No, I think that scene's so fun.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like that. I like that it's a very kind of David and Goliath kind of thing. Like I like that the guy's just like fucking huge. And I like that we get build up prior to the scene as well. Like we see them like in the yard and stuff, and we're like, oh, these are big, tough, scary guys. So I like the setup for it. If I didn't nitpick, there are like one or two shots where it was dark to the point where I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at in this shot. But it's very nitpicky because that's super it's super quick to the point where I don't even think that's a real criticism because it's put in fast enough and in a context of a sequence that I think gives it enough meaning in and of itself. So I think and if I didn't see what something was supposed to be, I did the next shot, and it was it didn't really affect the way that hits landed for me, so I didn't really mind too much.
Sure, yeah. The
guy just doesn't go down. I was just gonna comment. Like,
he doesn't go down.
Keeps getting back up.
And like so many, like he gets pretty injured. Like the table leg like is sticking into his body.
Yeah.
That looks like it hurts a lot. He gets like the poker, the fireplace poker is like in his scalp. That looks like it hurts. Sounds like it hurts too. The sound design is really, ew, it's gross. I love the reveal of the poker as well. Very slowly pulling back to reveal it as he kind of realizes it's there as well. The scene is also very well structured. Like it travels throughout this this home. Starts off, I think, in the bedroom, and then suddenly we're in the living room, and then like the dining room, the kitchen, and then ending in the bathroom. I just love that, like really utilizing the full geography of the space is super cool.
True.
And then also something I remembered is just the amount of waiting that has to happen. I feel like this sequence and the next one both have that in common, in that there's a good period of time where he has to just sit in his car and wait for it to be nighttime. And it's like the Paris job, reminding you how much boredom there is involved in this, how much waiting around and for something to happen. And I think maybe again that's commentary on like the gig economy, how you do kind of like have to wait for the next thing to happen, wait for the next opportunity to come up, because you're not steadily employed.
I saw that more as I saw the boredom thing more as just like this guy's world, and specifically as an attention to, like, I can kind of get into this now, I guess, because this is kind of part of my broader real life point, where if you think about the current world, it's overload. You know what I mean? Like there's everything, and like the idea of being bored almost seems absurd. Like the idea of being bored but not having something to stimulate it. I think that like that almost feels like something that's non-existent. And I think the idea that this guy's almost living in a different reality because of the habits and because of the narrative that he's established for himself, but living amongst everyone else, like that's the way I saw more, that like because he takes these spaces, he almost sees the world differently. Like there's a different world going on, and he's observing everything else. It also makes him like a bit more of like a voyeur, which I think ties into some of the visual style as well. Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. I saw that as kind of just a response to it, like into the broader point of, I think, and this is an idea that kind of pervades a lot of Fincher movies, which is like there are things lurking in the people and places that we pass every day, and like it's like it's always there, and there are people living different lives and living in different worlds, even though they're in the exact same geographical space.
I obviously agree, Aidan. I think like, especially like you said, like because like everyone is seeking some sort of excitement or like, you know, happiness or like dopamine hit, whatever. But like this guy is just like, when he's locked in, he's locked in, you know? Like it's just like the world is shut off to him. It's just him, his target, and how to get there. So yeah, I absolutely agree. That's a great observation, actually.
Yeah, I think also like I don't know if you're talking so much about this, but like how much brands are in this.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I saw some people describe this as what's the word, like shameless product placement, and I don't think you understand what this was. It's actually critiquing these entities, and I found it so like all that very interesting to me. Also, I was reminded it's very calls back to Fight Club as well. There's a Starbucks cup in this as well, in this movie as well. But yeah, I think what I found interesting about that is kind of like tapping into this idea. Something he mentions early on is this idea of being one of the many, of being like one of the sheeple, if you will, right? As opposed to someone who is detached and like somehow different, built different, not one of the many. And yeah, and so like part of it is he's capitalizing off of capitalism in a way. So he goes to McDonald's because he knows he can get a good breakfast, but completely blend in, because he is blending into one of the many without himself being it. He's putting on a disguise, literally, as well. And then also like other institutions and what I was saying, like globalization and privacy are the things that provide him with so much access and opportunity. So like Amazon, the globalization of like everything, you can get everything, anything, anytime, and he's just able to get a fob copier off of Amazon, and no one's gonna ask anything because globalization, privacy. Also, like all the security things that are put up that he has to go through are as much like barriers to him as well as like as soon as like once he's gotten into a place, there's no chance of being found, if that makes sense, because privacy has kept these things. It's keeping his work private as well, I guess. Contactless pickup sort of stuff like from Ace Hardware. No one's looking into a storage container. All these things like provide access. He lives in our world. He could exist in our world because he does essentially.
Yeah, I think that's a broader point the movie's making. I think in several points it focuses on how DIY he generally is, like the spaces that he's using, like the WeWork thing, to like when the dog, like to trick the dog, he just goes to the supermarket and he gets things that anyone can get, and like all these things, and that's actually like, well, I think it's and so it's this idea that like the person, and David Fincher literally said this in an interview, like the person standing behind you in the grocery store could be a serial killer or whatever. Like it's that idea. And I actually think that as well executed and as like interesting in some ways as that is, I think that's an idea that kind of pervades a lot of Fincher movies and is something that keeps me from loving them as much as I do, because I just don't agree with that. And so, like, and not that I need to agree with everything that a movie is saying to find it interesting or good or whatever. Like, there are tons of movies that I don't agree with, like, at all, that I think are great. But just something about, like, it's something about the attitude of this movie, and I would also say, like, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Zodiac, that keep
also the best ones.
I think that those, to me, those are all, like, well, not The Killer. I think The Killer is better than both those movies. But I think that, like, to me, like, it's that attitude that kind of keeps me away from it. Like, I just don't, like, there's a certain level of, like, okay. I feel like there is, and then I feel like it's just, to me, it's strange. I don't know. I'm not making, like, an ethical declaration, to be perfectly clear. It's just something that keeps me separate from these movies.
Sure. I honestly, I didn't feel quite so strongly that the point was, like, anyone around you could be a killer, because I could see that being like a Secret Invasion kind of, not that I saw that show, but like anyone, who do you trust kind of thing. Like I don't know if I felt that way, but yeah, anyways, I'll just move on. Let's go to the talk with Tilda Swinton. I think that's another very interesting scene. What I like about this scene, again, the rewatch helped me appreciate it more, but the hunter parable I found really interesting. So it's like this story where a hunter is going to kill a grizzly bear, and every time he misses, in her words, he gets sodomized by the bear, and he keeps showing up trying to kill the bear, and eventually the bear's like, "You're not here for the hunting, are you?" And I thought about it, and what I realized is, like, what the killer gets out of his job is not the killing, it's the self-sodomizing, it's the self-flagellation, it's the enjoyment he gets from the pain sort of repression, of being his minimalist, isolated self. He enjoys the process, he enjoys the work, he's almost like punishing himself, and he likes it. He likes the boredom, he likes all of that, and that, like, realizing that, I think, starts to scare him here. What's great about this scene is, like, they are the same, they're mirror images, except the key difference is she does not live that repressed life. She lives a life of luxury because she can afford it. They both could afford it, but he's decided to, what I was saying, like, to put on this hair shirt, and like, he's just starting to realize, like I mean, he's already had this journey behind him, but she's got this, like, great food, great whiskey in front of him, and he's kind of realizing, like, temptation, I think, for the first time. And maybe not the first time, but, like, it's becoming very clear that he has these urges that he can't control, and he he actually does relent a bit in the scene. He has one of the whiskey glasses for himself, and yeah, I think this is a really interesting scene because, he initially laughs at the idea of like the bear story, but then eventually like you can kind of like see fear in his eyes, and I think that was just such an interesting scene to me.
This is going to be a very murky point because I don't remember why I thought this, but I remember thinking, oh, he's both the hunter and the bear in the story as well. I remember thinking that like both of these actually apply to him, but I could not tell you why I thought that because I don't remember the story well enough. So that's my 2 cents here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a very similar breakdown compared to you, because like Alex just gave like a very thoughtful insightful take, and I'm just like, yeah. So the scene was really cool because it was like one of the few moments in the movie where he actually second guessed himself. Like he actually felt a little insecure talking to Tilda Swinton. Like I felt like he felt what the hunter felt when the bear confronted him when he went for the last time. The bear's like, you're not here to hunt me. You're just here for, whatever. Yeah. But like, I felt like it's just like, what is his goal of hunting down like these people who hurt his girlfriend? Like professionally, it's obviously not a smart move, and like personally, like, does he think he's gonna get away with it? Like, would there be consequences? Obviously, we don't see it at the end of the movie. We see like him just chilling with this girl at the beach house, but like, would there be consequences afterwards? Like, it's almost like I'm pretty sure Tilda Swinton commented something like, like, you're not here to kill, like, you're not gonna kill me here, like, both based on the environment. It's a loud restaurant, and also there's so many people around. Like, it's not something that the killer, like the professional killer, before like he had this fall and missing a target in Paris would do, but yet he's here. Like, why was he there? And then I think very much it has to do with his insecurity. Like, I feel like him miss for the first time, really, like, it's really just like he's like, yo, like, what happened? Like, this never happened in my line of work. I'm supposed to be the best, and he was just there to sort of reassure himself that he still got it. To like sit in front of your target, look her in the eyes, and like to remind himself almost like you're still the hunter, you're not the one being hunted, and you are in control here. And the fact that she was able to have such a great conversation, and like initially he was just silent the whole time, but then eventually he did talk to her for a couple of lines. So I think there's definitely, in combination with like him scaling down his roles throughout the movie, I think like in combination it's just like sort of the interior system he set up for himself sort of slowly breaking down as the movie goes on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, Tilda does say at one point, sort of what you were saying, you wanted reassurance, like that's why you're here. Mm-hmm. I also think I think part of it also is like he also says like he's desperate for conversation, and he says it like a joke, but I do think he's kind of betraying himself, and he is kind of like, no, that's actually why he's here, but he's trying to like laugh it off as if it's not true. But because his work is so isolated and it's independent work, he actually doesn't see other people who do the same thing as him, and so it is like a rare moment to sit down and chat, as opposed to like when he did it in private in the Brute fight. Because it was private, there was no show they had to put on, so it was just like fight to the death. And this one, he very purposefully follows her until she's in a public space, so that he can have that conversation without having to without it just devolving into a fight. And like, so I think that's part of it. And yeah, yeah, I think he is just like lonely, and like you said, needs reassurance. He's already on this very slippery slope of kind of realizing his humanity, and he's hoping that, I don't know, to hear something that will make him feel better about killing her. I don't know, but like either way, like it does the opposite eventually. And I think it's a very interesting scene. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Last, I don't know. This is a weird one. Last bit is the Chicago thing, but I'll also just kind of make it my summary thing. So I think I did a way better job of analyzing this movie for my very kind of brief, mostly point form letterbox review. So I am mostly gonna read off what I wrote there because I think that kind of got it pretty good. So basically, the killer's journey proves that he is not as detached and objective as he had once thought. He makes a lot of mistakes. We find out he's weak and capable of injury in the brute fight. And he's frightened at the prospect of being motivated by urges and emotions beyond his control. When he meets what I was calling capitalist God, that's how I kind of see Claiborne, is like this, like so powerful, omnipotent force, that there is almost like a religious aspect to it. When he meets him, he doesn't not only does he not care that the killer screwed up, he actually doesn't even recognize him. He doesn't know who he is, despite there being very good cause for him to be there. He has no idea, and he has to be reminded, and it's such a humbling moment for him, to meet your maker essentially, and be told you are not important. That's crushing. That is worse than finding out you are human and you can't control your feelings or your urges like you thought you were. So yeah, he kind of discovers that, and it's funny also, he says this at the beginning that nothing he does will ever change anything. It's that kind of nihilist viewpoint. He says in the beginning, nothing he ever does will change these metrics of how many people are born or die every day, despite his best efforts. And despite saying these things at the beginning, I feel like he doesn't actually feel them until the end. What else did I have to say? He's unable to change or escape the system he thought he was above. He thought he was above this kind of capitalist society. He thought he was not one of the many, but he's discovering that when he's with Claiborne, he can't actually, he can't or he won't kill him. So what's also interesting is every person he meets he has to kill are from different classes. So the brute is the lower class. The expert,
I don't think that's true. I think he's pretty loaded. No,
it may be,
he has,
but
he has a Florida compound.
Maybe, but at least at the very least, Claiborne is the most loaded, and it's interesting that he's he's fully capable of killing fellow doers, but when he's up against someone he could actually make a big difference, he doesn't. He's a control freak with no control, a pawn who thought he was a knight. He starts the movie alone in his high tower, looking down, but he ends the movie at sea level, knowing that he is one of the many. The ultimate nihilist joke is on him. He got what he wanted. He got his revenge. It actually goes surprisingly accordingly to plan. But in doing so, he destroyed what is actually his only outlet. His work is his life, and now he's destroyed it. He's destroyed any sort of hope of doing that again. One of you mentioned the threat of is this done? And I think what's so great is that it does feel done, and that's actually kind of sad. The fact that he's almost he's basically closed that world off from himself. There will be no more retaliation because there is no one who can or would retaliate. And I just the quote from the beginning of the movie calls back to me. It's amazing how physically exhausting it can be to do nothing, and that's all he has to look forward to for the rest of his days. Purgatory and paradise.
Yeah.
Retirement. Yeah.
You can go first, Peter. I think we had our hands up at the same time.
So I just thought your observation about how, as he, the people he kills are all from different, I guess, classes within society. I actually have a different but still similar observation. It's just the way he feels about the killings, and how that relates to sort of his confidence and his confidence level and his internal insecurities. Because initially, he's used to be like, you know, the sort of John Wick of his world, the boogeyman who no one recognizes but all fear, you know, like especially like in the Dominican scene where like the taxi driver begs for his life, like in the office scene in New Orleans, like Dolores begging for her life, you know, please just like, you know, do whatever, and then when he confronts the brute, it's just a fight to the death, you know, like the brute knows what he's capable of, or like maybe he's just defending like his home. that might also be a possibility. But then when we entered the expert and later on the man who hired him, like at the very beginning, there's much more of like, I do not fear you type mentality coming from both of them. I've sensed, and especially like from the last person where he literally does not even recognize him. So I think like there's a possibility where his sense of like self-importance and also like his sense of self-worth comes from validation from others, not in the sense of like complimenting him, but just in the sense of he is feared and also he inspires fear because of his job and what he does. And the fact that he slowly loses that of like every target he he slowly loses that throughout the movie, like as he goes on from one target to the next, is pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, I kind of, the way I saw that scene was, yeah, very specifically about like just again like the defying of his expectations and how they just can't be real. Like he doesn't really want to kill him. I don't know if like I never get the sense that he really wants to kill anybody. It's just a job, like it's just what he does. And so I think like what's like the whole reason that he has this internal monologue, like this idea that he's going to come into this room and this guy, the most powerful person in the world, is going to beg for life. And I think kind of tying into what you were saying, Alex, like this idea that because he is the killer who kind of operates, like he kills oligarchs and whatever and whomever, aristocrats in Paris and whatever. He like there should just be idea that like, yeah, this guy who thinks he's a big whatever is going to his knees will shiver before me. And I think the idea that like that doesn't happen is like that's his whole thing. Like it's just like I almost see it as like he realized that like there's nothing in this world for him. Like I honestly had seen it as like I don't understand the world of hitmanning particularly, but he probably could continue to do it in some way if he really wanted to. I saw it as like the image he had of it had been thoroughly shattered, and therefore there is no going back to it. So it's just like, and I think that but he's still unsatisfied with life without it. So he's unsatisfied either way.
I think you've pointed out something really interesting, is that I don't think he derives enjoyment from any of the killings. I don't think it's the killing that he finds enjoyable, and that's why the ones that I feel like in almost every kill after the first one, like even the first one, it's all like self-preservation. So like he's doing a job, it's not personal. I need to do this to survive. That's initially. Then it's like I need to kill you to protect my identity. I need to, like the first couple ones are like to preserve my identity and so I can continue operating as I am. Then later it's just because these people are going to kill me if I don't kill them. I feel like that's true of the brute and of the expert. And then because Claiborne doesn't pose a threat in any of these respects, he actually doesn't, because he doesn't want to kill anybody, it's not an urge it's not something he actually finds fun. It is the like cat and mouse game of like breaking into the buildings, like that's what he finds enjoyable. And like punishing himself, he's like, well, now what? Like, you're not gonna make me kill you? Well, then I guess I'll leave, Yeah. I'm not sure I'd considered that before.
And I feel like that's like actually never happened in his career before. It's like the first time where no one's there. Like his boss is dead, his rivals are dead. No one's there to force his hand to pull the trigger, and I felt like this is like new to him. Well, it is new to him to let a target go.
it's almost like the challenge, like people who like are so devoted to like doing something because the challenge is what excites them, that they devote their whole life to do it because it's hard and because no one else can do it. Funny enough, the thing that's coming to mind is that movie Naiad about the swimmer. This is a new movie. It's based on a real, like, it's a biopic about someone who swam from Florida to Cuba. It's got like Annette Bening in it and Silence of the Lambs. I don't remember her name. Sorry.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster, thank you. But like, I almost feel like there's an analogy there, like someone who's dedicated their life to doing something not because they want to, but because it's hard, and it makes them feel better about themselves. And now that he can't do that anymore, it's like I twitch, you know, like he can't relax and he's on vacation for the rest of his life. I think last thing I kind of wanted to touch on is the idea of like narration and POV. It's very interesting. There's a few times where the movie will switch to POV, usually if he's like looking through like a scope, or I thought there was something else. Usually it's a scope, and it's like you had mentioned in like the voyeuristic part of this job, and especially like in that first chapter in Paris when he's listening to music, like if it's in the POV through the scope, we are hearing the music as if we are him. And I can't remember if this, I thought there was one scene where it was only in one ear, like I was listening and like using headphones, and I was like, oh, that's so weird, it's only in the one ear, he's got the earbud in. That was really cool. But I found, especially in that scene, it was a really great distancing technique of being like John Wick, again, easiest example. When music plays, it's to be like, oh yeah, this is awesome, this is so cool, and it matches with the fighting matches with the music, and it kind of like
it establishes a rhythm for the scene.
Well, not only that, but like it makes it more fulfilling. It's a nicer thing to watch compared to like watching a fight play out in silence. Like that's not entertaining. That's not as entertaining. And so I feel like it's reminding you like because it does start switching of like it's blaring music, and then we're hearing his narration, and I feel like what that does is reminds you what you're watching, so you can't fully take enjoyment of like a killing scene, and it's kind of reminding you to like be careful of this guy, like he's maybe you don't want to identify with him. So I found that interesting, and
I think
how we have to like hear his voice the whole time as well. And so I feel like it's important to distance yourself from this guy and kind of be critical.
It's also interesting, like you said, like it's almost drawing attention to a lack of enjoyment. Like it's not like the job again, like we've said, it isn't like at least superficially enjoyable. Like it's a devotion sort of thing, and so it's not enjoyable. It's just him sitting and watching. But talking about kind of the point of view, because that was something I really appreciated as well. I also like that just within the cinematography, particularly in the beginning and the shots of what he's looking at, they're very ordered and like using architecture and lines and just like very like rigid and clear, just like ordered geometrical forms, and like the idea of like that's how he sees the world, like that's, and it's like a lot of attention to the forms that things are built. And I think that I mean, like just one of the many things that I think make the movie very subjectively directed, and I thought that was something I liked a lot about the
movie. I have one thing. This is kind of interesting. Just trivia.
Sure.
Apparently, so he doesn't have a name.
All his fake names are characters from. My parents pointed that out. I didn't know that until I saw this with my parents, and they were like, "Did you know what the names were?" And I was like, "No."
This is why I wanted to bring that up, because I've listened to some other people talk about this movie, and I was like, I don't think any of the three of us recognized any of those names. So that would just be funny for our listeners who might have. But Peter, for you, all the aliases he uses on like tickets, passports, whatever, are TV show characters from the 70s. I think they're all dads.
Oh, is that so? Okay.
Yes, it is so. And none of us caught that while watching it, which is hilarious. But
one of the names I did recognize, and then I was starting to pay attention to him, but I didn't know what the pattern was.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find, because there was one for me as well, but I also like couldn't place where it was from.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I've heard those names together. I'll see. There's probably like an article on this. Yeah, the killer sitcom names. Okay, here we go. First off, Sam Malone. So
Lou Grant, I definitely recognize. That was the one that I heard, and I was like, oh, for sure.
Okay. So Sam Malone is Ted Danson's character in Cheers and Frasier. Robert Hartley is the Bob Newhart Show. Lou Grant, you said, is Mary Tyler Moore. Archibald Bunker is from All in the Family. Felix Unger is the Odd Couple. Oscar Madison is... what does it say? Oh, it's the roommate. So also the Odd Couple.
Also from
Howard Cunningham is Happy Days. Reuben Kincaid is the Partridge Family. George Jefferson. Oh, maybe that was the one I recognized. George Jefferson.
Oh, I recognize that too. Yeah. Yes.
Is All in the Family. Oh, but he was in the spin-off The Jeffersons. Okay. The reason I know that one is from that song.
Yeah.
By the Smiths kid. What's his name? Jaden Smith.
Oh, Jaden Smith. Which song?
He has a song called George Jefferson.
Oh, really?
That's all I know.
I've heard George Jefferson referenced in a different song. Oh, wow.
Wow. Anyways, any other thoughts on this movie?
Nope, that's all I gotta say.
Aiden has a segment for us.
Yes. Okay, so the podcast is called Predator vs. Movies. We've already done the movie part. In case you haven't
Wait. Hold up. I have a plug. Quick plug. All I'm gonna say is this movie features one of my favorite reviews on this platform called Letterboxd, and it's by this guy called Aidan Sunny.
Sure.
This is what he said. I'm gonna read his review for you guys. Okay, this is awesome. So he says, sorry, it's taking a while. Oh, here we go. Starts out the killer, but by the end, he is the chiller. 10 out of 10. Love that review.
Classic. Yeah. No, that's
amazing
review. Chilling at the end.
Yeah. No. I get it. Do you want to get into our segment though?
Yeah, so the podcast Predator vs. Movies, done the movie time again to the Predator. We asked the question, would this movie be better if the Predator from the movie Predator was in it? No, but thematically similar.
Yeah, probably not, because like, I felt like Predator would just wreck him, you know?
Because this is one where if they did have a death match based off their professions, this is Predator's profession too.
Yeah.
So Predator would definitely win here.
You know what'd be crazy?
Not.
Imagine like he invites Predator out to like a nice diner, like what Tilda Swinton did, and just have a heart-to-heart in the diner.
Predator's
that would be crazy.
I agree. Like Predator, at least in the first movie, the one that I've seen, he's like also really good at his job, and they have to use his own technology against him.
Yeah.
Whereas the killer is not super great at his job and messes up quite frequently. So I think this is one where Predator could win. Yeah. Peter, would you actually love to tell us what the next segment is for the first time in several weeks?
Oh my god, it is my honor to tell you that the next segment
Milk it.
It's called Predator Picks, where we talk about the movies and TVs we've seen in the past week, and give our recommendations. Let's get it.
Little rusty, but nice to have you back saying that. Peter,
I'll be gone next week.
Great. Peter, do you want to go first? Jesus, okay, don't move your mic.
Okay, you do.
Do you have any pics yourself? Do you have any pics yourself, Pete, dude?
Okay, to be fair, what's our last episode again? Oh, the one I did with you guys.
Napoleon. Oh, the last one you did. Oh, I don't know.
Was it the creator? It might actually be the creator.
Like it's so long ago.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Oh my god, that has been
well, you were briefly on for Killers of the Flower Moon.
That didn't count.
But you left part of
Holy shit, it's been a while, eh? Oh my god.
It has been a while.
So please do not tell us every movie you've seen unless it's 5.
I've only seen one.
It's probably only like 2
exactly.
that time anyway.
Didn't matter.
I saw the Eras Tour movie It was
Okay.
pretty good.
Not even a movie. Great.
It was a concert film. And I also like this show that like is coming back called what's it called? It's called House of the Dragon, and it's looking quite good. But
yeah.
I have seen stuff. I just reminded myself. I've been watching Invincible season 2.
Oh yeah.
It's been quite good. No spoilers, obviously, but yeah, lots of big character moments, and apparently we're like barely like 10% through like the entire like Invincible series.
They like doing
so
that.
I have no idea where we'll get to, like how long this show will run for, but it's excellent voice acting and everything. So definitely recommend.
Yeah.
Check
Did you
out
get to
Invincible.
Did you see the first 4 episodes like up to the break?
Yes, yeah, I was actually like, I guess it makes sense that they want to, because like Amazon Prime, I guess does have a couple of things coming out, or it might just be the holidays, who knows? But like, it sucks. Episode 4 is quite a big cliffhanger, and yeah, I'm excited to watch episode 5 come the new year.
It's interesting how different of a model they have to not only have it a week-to-week show like Disney Plus does, but also to incorporate a mid-season break for like an 8-episode season. Like,
I know it's really, so short already.
It's an opposite stance, complete opposite of like Netflix dropping everything at once.
I'm pretty sure Netflix, like, is Netflix still doing that? Because last time I heard, like, they're trying to step away from
I think some things are being staggered more, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
But like, I honestly, like, I'm not a huge fan of this mid-season break thing. I feel like this just like, I mean, it's a little better. It's on a streaming service, but like, it just gives me the part 1, part 2 vibe of like a lot of movies, like during the 2010s, where like Harry Potter had like Deathly Hallow part 1, part 2, Hunger Games had like the last one had part 1, part 2. So it's like, it's like, yo, just give us the whole thing, man.
I wouldn't say
I don't want to wait for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's quite the same thing, just because that's adaptation, and like all those are adapting books and like trying to milk one story as much as they can so that it can be like a 2-part event. Like it feels bigger. I do feel like as season 2 of, like you said, a show that could run a lot, like a lot of seasons. I do feel like this is a little different. I don't really know why they're doing it. I honestly don't mind though. Like, Invincible's not a show that I like love so much that I'm like, I need my Invincible fix. Like
No,
I'm like,
for sure.
I'm like, if you're gonna take a break, sure. I have other stuff to watch.
Okay. I wasn't gonna get into this, but I did finish Loki season 2, and not gonna lie, like, did you watch it?
I stopped maybe episode 2. Like I watched 2 of them.
Like generally, I think the first half of the season is the weaker part of the season, because like I don't know if you caught the vibe, but like it was very very not focused and kind of scattered for me, for the first half, and there was very little tension in the first half as well. But somehow, I don't know how, but like they really picked it up in the last 2 episodes, and like it's like I think even like rewatching season 1, like I think season 1 is still a better season overall, but like season 1 there were moments that like the show wasn't that great, but like overall season 1 was still much better. But this season, I guess like my take is just the final 2 episodes were good, but overall downgrade compared to season 1. And like the fact that every single time a Marvel show that's remotely good or a Star Wars show that's remotely good, and you just see millions of people on Twitter is like, oh, we're so back, MCU's back, guys. I'm just like, yo, we're not back. This is like an average show in like a bunch of shows that's just trash. Like, I'm sorry, but like MCU's been putting out some garbage lately. Like it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I definitely missed Loki season 1. The coherence, how it made sense, and how I could go from one episode to the next and be like, oh, I know what happened the last episode because this is what is happening right now. I missed that. A basic part of TV shows. I also just think that like it's a huge loss to lose like your showrunner or the person who was effectively the showrunner for the first series into the next, because changing those creative hands I feel like was very obvious. But also they weren't a showrunner because Marvel wasn't doing showrunners, and showrunners weren't real for a bit. Now they are. Now they're real.
Well, she quit. It's not that Marvel doesn't want her. She quit.
No, I know she did quit, and I'm just saying that I think that very much impacted the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
But anyways, if that's all of your picks, we'll go to Aidan's. I was waiting for you to stop me. Aidan, what did you watch or anything?
I've watched quite a few things this week. So last night I watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This is the third one. This is a very average movie. Some very cool scenes, a lot of just whatever. You know what I mean? The reason I love the first two Conjurings as much as I do is because of James Wan. James Wan did not direct this one. And so I'm kind of there's sometimes where they're trying to emulate the James Wan style, and it's you're not doing it well enough. I see that you're trying to do the James Wan zoom, but you're not, this isn't the right moment for it. And so I think that I am only interested in The Conjuring, I think, as long as James Wan is there, to be honest. So that's my take on that.
Speaking of James Wan, are you excited for his
Aquaman?
I
will be there.
You will be there? Okay.
I will be there. That trailer
isn't that coming out real
hilarious. Soon? Yeah, I'll see
it's coming out in December, no?
I don't know.
Yeah, sometime this month.
I don't need to see opening weekend, but I will see it. I also saw Godzilla -1. This is a Japanese Godzilla movie. This was quite good. This was really good. Clearly about some post-World War II themes. It was interesting to see. It was actually a legitimately quite good story, and it was a very grounded character sort of thing that was happening, which I was not expecting. It was interesting to see that apparently this and Oppenheimer are two of the top grossing blockbusters of the year. Very surprisingly similar movies, I will say. Godzilla is clearly an allusion to nukes there in some ways, and I know that that's the somewhat of the origin of the character, but there's in particular there's one thing Godzilla does where it's oh yeah, okay. That's what that is.
I haven't seen. I haven't seen this movie yet, but I have actually seen Godzilla from 1954, the original, and the vague allusions you're making to the plot. It sounds like might be a remake. I don't know how similar this -1 is to that, but
it is broadly follows a kamikaze pilot who refused to kill himself in the line. He refused to carry through with his action, and the shame he carries with that. And he sees Godzilla during the war, the final days of the war, and then later, once the war is over and he's recovering, he has to go back and fight Godzilla.
Okay, no kamikaze pilot in the original, but the feeling of post-war anxieties about the bomb and all that sort of stuff very, very similar to the original. I would recommend you check that out, but that was an old rec. I need to get on that.
Did either of you see Shin Godzilla?
I did not.
No, that's another Godzilla I need to see.
Yeah, because that one, Godzilla. It's I think that one came out around the time where Universal, I forgot. Was it Universal or might be Warner Bros? But
well, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, you.
The Western company that holds the rights to Godzilla made their Godzilla the MonsterVerse Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
that one came out around the same time as well. That's another Japanese take on Godzilla. So I'm just curious because I always wonder what's same and what's different about -1 compared to Shin, because they were both very similar when it comes to, because they were both from a Japanese perspective on
both. I will say, of the Godzilla movies I have seen, Godzilla -1 is my favorite one for sure. But I haven't seen. I've only seen the modern. I've only seen I saw the Bryan Cranston one where he dies in the first 20 minutes, and then Godzilla. I saw, but then I saw the one that was after that, and then I saw Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Okay, so you've seen Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Okay. What else have you been?
Also wanted to quickly shout out. This is one of my better Letterboxd reviews, I think, for this one. I said, in the Jacob Elordi Elvis voice, "Come on now, Zilla, you can't be doing that." Zilla, because it's Scylla.
I was thinking you would say that, Zilla. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I also watched the 1947, I believe, movie Black Narcissus. This is a Powell and Pressburger are the directors. They were a pair of British directors who did a lot of things together. This movie is very, very well crafted. Unfortunately, very racist. Just like the premise of it is like it's just so baked in, and it's like the kind of thing. The review I wrote for it is here. Let me pull it up because I said, if you accept the underlying logic of this film, it examines its themes and characters in a nuanced, highly visual, and evocative way. Unfortunately, the underlying logic of this film is very racist. So if you accept the fundamental premise, it's like a super well crafted movie, but kind of horrible.
Is that the one that's set in Nepal?
It's in India. It's in the
India.
Himalayas.
Okay, yeah. The Himalayas. That's why I thought that. Yeah. It's because it's about a nun or like a convent. Yeah. But I was like, I remember hearing about it, and it was like, oh, it's in such an interesting location. Like,
and it is like it's in some ways a very interesting movie, and like very gorgeous, but yeah, whatever. I also saw the Coen Brothers film Burn After Reading, and after watching this, I was shocked to see that it's not like super high rated because I thought this movie was hilarious and also just very clever as well. I saw one review that said this is potentially the Coen Brothers' meanest movie, and I kind of agree with that, but I also think that it's quite empathetic in other ways. Like I think that some characters are afforded a lot of empathy, but it's definitely a lot of like all of these characters, like the Coen Brothers have the constant thing of like characters that are kind of too dumb to ever solve their problem. Like they're trapped in by forces greater than themselves, and nothing they could do could get them out of it. And these are like kind of it's like dialing that up like really high. But I think this movie was super super funny, really well written, really well acted. Last thing I've been watching, I started watching the sitcom Abbott Elementary. Very funny. This is just a network sitcom. Very funny. This was one where I think immediately I could tell like that it had legs watching the first episode, because like the first season or so of a sitcom I find is never the most incredible thing because you haven't figured it out yet. Like if you think Parks and Rec and The Office and whatever, like, and Community as well, like the first seasons of all those shows are both a little like okay, and so there's a bit of that going on, but it was actually still quite a strong first season. And I'm on season 2 now because I've watched it very quickly, and it's half-hour episodes, and it's very funny. It's very funny and good. I would recommend it to people.
Not gonna lie, like Community season 1 was quite good. Like out of all the,
I think it's rocky compared to the rest of the. Well, maybe not the whole rest of the show, but compared to like season 3 especially, like
No, it definitely gets better, but like I love Community. It's like my all-time top sitcom.
I was gonna ask though, how is season 2? Because I think I got through all of season 1, and then I haven't had a chance to check out season 2 yet. So, how far have you got? How does it compare?
I think it's very similar. I think they have like relaxed into their characters a little bit more, and so I think like the dynamics are like a little more like like the classic sitcom thing of like. The more sitcom eases into itself, the less setup they need to do, because they don't need to explain why characters are doing anything. They can just kind of like do they can in very quick lines and very quick scenes establish this is what this character's doing for this episode and that's why. And so like I think there's a little bit more of that, and I think it's stronger.
Cool. So yeah, maybe I'll check that out. For me, in terms of TV shows, I've been continuing Better Call Saul. I think I have like 3 episodes left. It's making me sad, like a little bit, like I had to watch 2 in a row because I was just like so engrossed. It broke the spell of like, Peter, you weren't here for this, but like I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm like literally like addicted to it, like I'm playing that game more than I've ever played a video game in my entire life.
Wait, Alex, I'd like to ask, how many total hours?
I don't know. I don't know how to check anyways. But anyways, okay. I love my little horsey game, and I like riding around. And
you don't find it boring?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
Okay.
It's like I can't believe that you found this game boring. Like if you love Westworld, you're in Westworld. That's what this is. It's Westworld the game. Anyways.
Dude, okay, I just remember me like pulling a gun on someone and then immediately getting hunted down, and I was like, "Yo, what is this
It's
game?
yeah,
I'm supposed to
no,
have fun."
No, what I love is like your actions have consequences. Here I am
That is
wrecking the
true.
game again. But like
maybe I'll try
like-
it again sometime.
Like if you have done some bad things, you have a bounty on you, and it will just keep increasing, and it won't go away unless you pay off your bounty. And like I have bounties that are like $300, and I'm like, I'm not paying that money. Fuck you. And so then I will just eternally have lawmen and bounty hunters chasing after me, and they are not easy to kill. They like I had about like for a while when I was like, I'll fight these guys, whatever. I'll say I can take them. I had about a 50% success rate. Sometimes
Welcome
I'd get them.
to,
Sometimes they'd get me. Like it's hard.
Welcome to Gaming Podcast with Alex. You know who
Yeah.
else loves Red Dead though? Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid loves Red Dead Redemption 2.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But like, okay, before we move on, I gotta ask you one last question.
Okay.
Have you been like on the scale? You know, lawful, chaotic, good, evil. Where are you at right
yeah,
now?
no. This is the system of the game has that I've kind of like been trying to figure out how I feel about it. And what I've noticed is it's just very difficult to be good or even neutral. Like, not even trying, I will just invariably end up doing bad things accidentally. like there was one time I was in a very populated city and I was trying to figure out how to like where the dynamite is, because
Oh no!
so like I just accidentally brought out a piece of dynamite, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, you're disturbing the peace. Like it'll tell you if you're doing a crime, and it's like, witnesses, you have witnesses, and then it's like investigating, and because like I'm in a populated city, they see me immediately, and so then they're like, hunted, and you were being hunted, run bitch. And so like I'm trying my
That's
best to
crazy.
escape this town, but I also like I made some poor choices in escape routes, and so like I
Right.
died like that time just because like accidentally took out a stick of dynamite. I didn't even hurt anybody. I put it away. But yeah, it's a very fun game. But yeah, so I found that even though I was addicted to it, Better Call Saul pulled me out, and I watched some episodes, and it was just as captivating. And after finishing one episode, because I was like updating the Xbox or whatever, I was like, I actually would prefer to watch more of this than play the game.
That's
That's how
crazy.
good that show is.
Wait, Alex, do you need context? Because I stopped Breaking Bad. I think I have like 2 seasons maybe at the end.
Sure,
But
no, you
like
you don't need. No,
No.
not at all.
Okay.
If you've met Saul, like that is the only context you could need. But it is a standalone show. You can watch this show as its own thing and never have seen Breaking Bad, because that doesn't matter. I mean, obviously it matters if you're like, if you know where that character ends up, Saul, but also the show I feel like does a good job hinting at that a little bit with the black and white sequences. Yeah, it's a terrific show. You don't need to have seen Better Call Saul, and I'm probably gonna do a Breaking Bad rewatch once I'm done, but Better Call Saul might be the show that I like better. It's
wow.
they're different and also same. But anyways, watched 2 episodes of that. Great, can't wait to finish. But also very sad. 2 movies I watched. Number 1, Thanksgiving, the Eli Roth slasher film. All I'll say is, like, very very good direction for a script that is like quite stupid. Or like the dialogue was really the issue I had. Just characters who are like explaining all the time, like clearly setting up certain things and acting very bizarrely and saying things that wouldn't make sense for a person to say, only to set up inevitable payoffs, which makes those not quite as fulfilling, because of course they're going to happen. You just basically said that they're going to happen. Lots of that. Also, the killer's identity is so painfully obvious, not just in like things that like if you know how movies work, it's kind of
Right.
obvious, but also like in what characters are saying and visually, like the director gives it away and like really like pounds it in. It's kind of like it almost wants you to know, and so then it's not like there's no fun to it because it's like, oh, I know exactly who it is within 5 minutes of this movie starting. And
is Addison Rae in it?
Yeah, apparently. I don't
fine.
really know. She's not the main character though. But yeah, I was just kind of like let down in that respect, being like, well, this isn't fun. I know who it is, because it's trying to be Scream and it's not. But like the kill scenes, like the the slasher aspect of it, phenomenal. Like really inventive kills, and also very, very funny. A very funny movie for us, and it's also a slasher. It's kind of like I don't know if slapstick's the right word, but just like like a little bit of slapstick. Like the kills in themselves are funny, but us also, as I heard someone talking about it, like it's not parody either. Like it's fully enjoying the genre as it is.
Right.
But yeah, so like
well, it's kind of like X is a little bit like that too, I think.
I can't even remember if I found that funny, but I think X is a better movie.
For spoiler for that movie, pew pew pew. Like when Jenna Ortega's character dies, like I think it's hilarious. Like she runs down a hall, comes out the door, and gets shot in the face. Like the moment she comes out, and it's in this like it's funny. Whatever.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah, that's pretty funny. The other movie I've seen is Love Actually.
Nice. Is it good?
Did you watch that voluntarily?
One might say no, but I enjoyed it.
Okay.
See, like I realized you give a rating on
I don't know if it. Is it a bad I don't think of this as like, oh, it's Love Actually. Like I don't know much.
No. It's like
I know it's the movie with the signs. It's where Rick Grimes
is.
has the signs up.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
British Rick Grimes.
Yes.
Native.
No, like I didn't take.
I know.
I didn't take Alex as a rom-com guy. That's all. You know.
No, I did not watch this of my own accord. I watched it with Maddie, and I loved it. And there's not a gun to my head.
Okay.
No, it was fine. There's parts of it that I thought were quite funny. I genuinely, there are a few scenes that I thought were really funny, and there's also one scene with Emma Thompson that was surprisingly like heartbreaking, and I was like, oh, that's like a really sad moment actually. And so yeah, there's some good in that movie. Bill Nighy is very funny. I only know him as Squidman, Pirate Squidman. And to see him be really just like horny, awful pop singer doing like a cover, like a Christmas album, and like hating every minute of it. He's like the character who you'll like revisit every so often, but is no impact on anything. Like
he's the runner.
The least, if that's what they're called, sure. But like.
It disagrees with me. It does not agree with that.
It's thumbs down now. This is fascinating. I feel like I just got like a wave of like, you know, those horror films that are on Zoom. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm on the Zoom.
Like Unfriended or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah. Anyways, no, it was a fun movie. Next week. Probably Poor Things. This is one that I actually do know.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh what?
We might have a guest for
I'm
that.
I'm so upset that I'm
missing
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Peter, you might not want to skip next week because of that Poor Thing.
I can't though. Exam obligations.
That's your problem. Figure it out. School, whatever. But anyways, so check us out next week for Poor Things. If you like us, check us out on Instagram and Twitter at PredatorVMovies. If you like my thoughts on movies, check me out on Letterboxd at @AlexGordon_. Did I say that right? _AlexGordon_. I leave reviews sometimes.
You can also check me out on Letterboxd. It's 810sunny. That's 810SN9. My name is Wombo. I also leave reviews sometimes. You'll find me. Whatever.
Wait, Aidan, remind us. What is your profile picture again?
We're slowing down again.
It's a sloth. I'm trying to get us. I'm trying to rev it.
I'm trying to leave. Peter, do you have anything to plug?
No.
Great.
You have to leave a review.
You have to leave a review, leave a comment.
5 stars, baby.
5 stars. Just show us your love. Peter, tell us the code word for this week's episode.
Just say a word. Just say a word.
Can I pick any word?
That's
Yeah,
it.
any
Wait, can I pick any
Okay.
word? Wait, can I pick any
good.
word?
No.
That's it.
Chiller.
No,
It has to be chiller, bro.
Chiller,
Okay.
chiller, bro is the code. 3 chillers and a bro is the code word. That's how we know you've listened to this episode. You have to comment that. Chiller, bro. We'll see you next week. This is Predator v Movies. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.